Welcome to the Coach Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Karen Eldad. Settle in. We're about to make you feel really good. Welcome back to the Coach Podcast. I'm Coach Karen Eldad, your host, and we are going to talk about all things teaching, all things mastery, and all things mindset. Before I begin today, I want to tell you a little story because I just finished Robert Greene's new book, The Laws of Human Nature, which was 28 hours long. Thank you very much on Audible. Robert, I love you so much, but come on, like a little editing next time. That joke aside, I want to tell you the story that really struck me in this book. And it's the story of Milton Erickson, who was a legendary hypnotherapist and therapist. At 17, Erickson was struck down by polio and became paralyzed in his entire body. For months and months, he was bedridden and he could only communicate by blinking his eyes. As a result, however, he had to become adept because he couldn't hear and he couldn't speak at only reading the facial features and the movements of those around him. By the time he emerges miraculously from this disease, he has developed a superhuman talent for reading people even before they say a single word. And that is when he starts to actually understand that these almost psychic abilities become his trademark. And that trademark, that body language, facial expression, tone, ability to read people even before they walk into the room, gives him an extraordinary edge as a therapist and in life itself. This is the foray to Robert Greene's book. And I think this is the best way to introduce our incredible guest today, Brian Galke, who has dedicated his life to just that. Brian is known as the Decoding Detective. He is the founder of Subtle Skills, a company that teaches the art of reading facial features and nonverbal cues to build instant rapport and more powerful connections. You and I are both going to dive into how Brian does what he does. I couldn't be more curious. And also into how he went from being an introverted help desk employee to a regional VP of sales who then kills it and grills it on the sales desk, managing a $40 million portfolio, all by mastering this art of decoding facial expressions and features, and then translates this into a world-renowned speaking career.
Yes.
Welcome, Brian.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you're here.
So, total side note, I'm actually listening to one of Milton Erickson's books right now on Audible because I'm NLP certified also, but I just love all the things that are out there. The whole science of human achievement, why it's not taught to us, to everyone, is just beyond me.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I, too, am an NLP certified junkie.
Right.
I love that. I love that you're a teacher after my own heart. Welcome. Mm-hmm. I'm very curious about what you do. I'm also very curious about the particular niche, the importance of carving out a niche, and how you built a business from that.
Sure.
Shall we begin?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's have some fun. So take us back to the beginning. You are an introverted. By the way, I know I look like an extrovert, but do you know that I assess as an ambivert?
So do I. And what you'd be surprised is most people who have podcasts or on stages, they're actually more introverts than they are extroverts. Yes. There are a few people who love the stage, to be on stage. But if you sit in the green room with people, like my old coach, Steve Sims, he'd have to sit and listen to Pearl Jam before he went on stage and nobody could talk to him. And when he got off stage, he ran to the bar or his hotel room because he'd given so much of his energy and that's not who he was. So a lot of times when you see people on stage and then you think, wow, they weren't very friendly when they're off stage. It's not that they're not friendly. It's that they're introverts and they go back to their natural state. And I do the same things. I'm an ambivert too. Like when I show up to an event, I was at an event just before I came here and I sit in the back of the room so I can kind of like take on the whole room when I'm there and kind of look around, pay attention to what's going on. But I don't talk to somebody till somebody talks to me. But the cool thing about what we're going to talk about today is when I'm focused on you, guess who I'm not thinking about? Me. And that got me out of the prison of my own mind and into the present moment with people. And that's what changed everything.
There's an old joke that I've heard the evangelical pastor Joel Osteen make, that when we're in our 20s, we care very much what other people think. Mm-hmm. When we're in our 30s, we care less what other people think. And when we're in our 40s, we finally realize that no one was ever thinking about us.
Right.
This joke to me has become the paradigm of speaking. You are absolutely right. Many of us are at very best ambiverts.
Right.
I like to say that if people could see what I'm really like, and Jezebel, my assistant who's here, knows this, I'm in a bathrobe 50% of the time, working from bed like I'm recovering from tuberculosis. I need an enormous amount of downtime. And people can't really see that because you have sort of a personality that's very high functioning
Yes.
in social environments.
Yes.
But that doesn't necessarily mean anything. And so for any teacher who's already listening to this and curious, you don't technically have to be wired like Robin Williams
No.
to do this job. As a matter of fact, most of us are on the other side of the spectrum.
Correct. Do you know why that is? Because we have to study people. We have to study things. So what do introverts do? We pick up books. We watch courses. We take classes because it doesn't come naturally. So it's kind of like if you have an athlete who's good. So they always say the best players don't make the best coaches. And that's because they don't understand what comes naturally for
That's
them.
true.
But if you listen to, we've both studied NLP, we both studied all these things. You just listened to a 28-hour long book. Not everybody does that. But it's because you're wanting to understand things and then share it with other people.
That's right.
And that's where a lot of people who are on stages provide coaching, anything like that. It's their desire to help others. If you've ever read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl,
Of course I have.
the second half of that book was the theory he learned. And that was the people who survived those atrocities weren't the ones who said, I'm going to make it. The ones who said, I want to see my wife again. I want to see my parents again. I want to see my kids again. They're the ones who tended to outlast the other people who withered away from the inhumane conditions that they were in.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's always a question of making meaning and also an ability to powerfully observe. In my case, I have to tell you, I don't know that it was just an observation of people. It was also a survival skill. My parents are diplomats, so we changed homes 14 times by the time I was 18.
Wow.
14 countries, 14,
Yeah.
several different languages. I think we traversed 5 languages in total.
Wow.
And so every time I was also very quickly picking up the mannerisms, the language, and the patterns of the culture so that I could assimilate as quickly as possible. And I didn't feel ostracized and left alone either.
Yes. Immersion. Immersion is the best way to learn
That's right.
anything when you go anywhere. That's why I did a study abroad in Italy, and I learned more in 1 month in Italy than I did an entire year in the classroom, because you just pick it up in a book, you use a little bit, and then you put it away.
Exactly.
But when you have to rely on it daily, it's completely different. And you're absolutely right. So one of the things that we just talked about is Joel was partially right. We actually do care what other people think, but only because it's built into our DNA, something
Yes.
known as epigenetics. And that is, we don't want to be kicked out of the tribe because that meant that we didn't survive. So it's built into our DNA that we kind of care a little bit about what people think, but it's just, we don't need to care as much as we do. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And of course, we never really transcend the ego, but we can learn how to live by his side,
Correct.
which I absolutely love. So let's go back to, you have this magnificent capacity for introversion. You are now a help desk superstar.
Yeah.
How do you actually meet Mr. Sims?
Right.
Perhaps that happens later. How do you evolve into a student first of this?
One thing that I've been very lucky about in life is I've been introduced to the right people at the right time. So it started with a former boss would take us to seminars. So I grew up in Dallas, Texas. Zig Ziglar's from there. In junior high, we had a course that we could take that was an elective with Zig Ziglar. So we'd come
What?
in. Yeah. And
Himself?
No, I wish.
Oh, I was like, what?
We'd come back from lunch and they would pop a cassette tape, yes, I'm that old, into the player. And after lunch for 30 minutes, we'd listen to a Zig Ziglar talk. And then we had a little notebook and a breakdown of it all. So that's how I was first introduced to it. And then I think I went to like a Tony Robbins event. But my old boss, Mark Turner, I'm still friends with him now. He was a boss who became a mentor, who became a friend. And he took us to various events. So we went to like how to do memory palaces with Ron White, who also lives in Fort Worth, Texas. We learned Zig Ziglar. We went to Zig Ziglar's 80th birthday. So little things like that. And I always looked, I thought, man, they
Wow,
look
what
like
fortune.
they're having so much fun on stage. And they're getting to teach people something. And I'm a teacher by heart. And so that's what made me good at the help desk was I could walk people through the problems. And I love being in a help desk. Growing up, I always picked jobs where people had to come to me. So I did retail, I waited tables, I was a bouncer, I was a bartender. When you're behind the bar, it's like, this is my domain, you
Yeah.
know, and people have to come to you. So naturally, help desk, once I got out of college, was great. But I got bored sitting behind a desk because I still love to travel. And that, going back to, you said you're from New York. I grew up with my grandparents grew up in the Bronx. My parents are from the Bronx. And to me, it was the neatest thing ever to get to go walk around New York City. So I wanted to travel. And so I started doing different traveling jobs while I was picking up books when I was traveling. And I pick up books on body language, statement analysis, networking, because it didn't come easy for me. But when you're an introvert, you're always paying attention to what's going on. And so by studying others, it helped me feel more comfortable in the room.
But you also, I mean, you clearly had a a proclivity for it. You were interested in the subjects
absolutely.
too.
Yes.
Because nobody starts to consume this much if they're not also genuinely interested. It's not just necessity.
It was a desire to want to belong because it just seems so easy for everybody else. And I'm like, okay, well, it doesn't seem that easy for me. So maybe if I study it, I can get it, because that's what we're taught, right? Go to school, learn and master a subject to get ahead.
Yeah.
And so I just picked a different subject than most people did.
And so that subject is
just body language, understanding people. Any book I can pick up. If you saw my bookshelves at home, I have bookshelves upon bookshelves, and then things in the garage are still in crates.
Incredible.
And it was just anything that could help me understand other people. So there's tons of books on body language. Then like How to Win Friends and Influence People. An
incredible book, Dale Carnegie.
Yes. After college, my roommate worked for a famous car dealership in Dallas, Texas. Well, they would send him to all these seminars to learn things, and he would bring the books home and I'd steal them. And so I read a book on NLP one time. And I'm like, oh, I love this book.
Neuro-linguistic programming, for those who have also been here quite a while.
Yes.
We've mentioned NLP several times.
Yeah, because if you say it now, everybody thinks you're talking about AI, which is natural language patterns. Nope, we're not talking about that.
We're talking about NLP.
Right. But it was those little skills. I'm like, well, wait a minute. And it helped me feel more comfortable in my own skin, but it helped me kind of understand and decode interactions also. And everything in life that you want to achieve, other people can help you get there with it.
Amen.
Yes. And how I got into what I do now was a fluke circumstance. So I mentioned before, my boss took me and introduced me to all these things. Well, in 2010, a friend came in from out of town. She said, let's go to dinner. I hadn't seen her in a few years. I'm like, okay. I show up at the restaurant and she calls and says, hey, I'm not going to make it. I'm like, well, okay. She said, no, I want you to come meet this guy at the seminar. I go, no, I'm at the restaurant. I'm where we said we'd be. I'm already ordered a glass of wine. I'm staying. She's like, no, you need to come meet this guy. I go, why do I need to come meet this guy? And this was pre-Uber days, and it was a while to get there. And I said, why do I need to come meet this guy? She goes, because he reads faces. And I go, never heard of that crap. I'm not going. And she finally convinced me to go, but I had a plan. And that was, this guy ruined my night, so I'm going to prove he's a fraud.
That's amazing.
And that was my original intent. I'm a skeptic by nature, but I'm a curious skeptic. So I want to kind of understand things. So I finally go over there and I was, just guns loaded. I'm going to destroy this guy. Yeah. I was waiting for him to use generic things like Barnum statements, oh, you've had a hard time in life. Who hasn't? Oh, you know somebody whose name starts with M. Okay. Mom,
like a
Mary.
psychic.
Exactly.
From Long Island. Yes.
And I've read books on mentalism. I think anybody in sales should read books on magic, mentalism, because it's about presentation. And when I was going out and doing these, I used to be in technology sales, and I'd go out and do these presentations. Well, I learned how to perform the presentation based on reading books like that. And this guy was disarming, very nice guy. And I'm like, damn it, I already like him right away. But then he sat us all down around a dinner table, and person by person, he was decoding their facial features. And I was trying to catch him. I was waiting for him to say something different on the same feature with somebody. He didn't. He repeated himself over and over again. I'm like, okay, I can't catch him. And then he got to me. And when he got to me, I was like, this guy's been digging through my trash. Like, it was kind of unnerving what all we can understand about other people in just this much real estate right here.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's also the super sexiest party trick ever, because my impulse, and I know anybody's impulse is, well, what do you see?
What do you see?
What do you see?
It's one of two reactions. It's what do you see or get away from me, right? Like, don't look at me. So it has
I'm
one
not
of
like
two
that.
reactions.
I'm like, what?
Yes.
I'm amazing, right?
Well, the funny thing is it gets misunderstood like it's a parlor trick.
No, it's also, I think the big confusion is very likely to be of profiling.
Yes.
So obviously the Israeli accent betrays the Mossad affinity that we all have. The idea of profiling people and trying to catch them in a lie or a manipulation is something very different from what you do, right?
Correct. So what everybody, as soon as they hear like, oh, you can read facial features, which it's face reading. I don't call it that, because as soon as you do that, people go, can you read my palm? And I'm like, no. So I call it decoding facial features because it just makes people pay attention more. But it's
F-A-C-E.
F-A-C-E, yes. And it's resting facial features. So the advantage of it is I could go and look up people on LinkedIn ahead of time. So when I went to go do presentations, if I knew who I was going to present to, I'd go look them up and figure out, are they auditory? Are they visual? How do they like to take in information? And I was personalizing the presentations for the person instead of just reading a script. And it's different. Like you and I are having a conversation. People don't like presentations. They like conversations. So when you're in sales, or if you're even on a first date, if you're just reading a script to people, they check out mentally. But when you're focused on somebody else and you're giving them your time and attention, it changes everything.
Everything.
Especially with the day and age of smartwatches, smartphones, everything.
ChatGPT, of
Yes.
course. It just changes everything.
Yeah. There was a study done in December of 2023, 800 employers. They were asked, what's the hardest part about hiring kids out of college and high school? 53% of them couldn't make eye contact for a job interview. 21% blocked their camera for a virtual interview.
That breaks my heart.
It is.
That really breaks my heart. 53%?
53%. And it's easy to make
It's
fun
like
of.
when you hear Scott Galloway, just, Professor Galloway, also a podcaster, just rattle off statistics about how few of them are having sex.
Yes.
And I'm just sitting there, or can drive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what has happened? It's only been 20 years since I was their age.
Because, it's funny, the last part of that study, I didn't bring up, 19% brought their parents to the interview. And part of that was because they don't drive. Because for them, think about everything.
How embarrassing.
It's easy to make fun of them, but we gave them that device.
Yeah.
They can order everything through a phone. Dinner, dates, drivers. You don't need to talk to another person. I'm 50 years old. The phone used to ring before caller ID. You had to just pick up the phone and take a wild chance and say hello. Everything you needed, you had to talk to another person. So they say
It was a wonderful time.
It was a fantastic time.
Yeah.
They say the equivalent of what millennials feel today is public speaking for my generation. And that is because they can have the perfect text message, the perfect email, the perfect picture.
Yeah.
Then the idea of doing things live terrifies them because they can't prepare it. And like my 8-year-old daughter, she'll take a picture and she's like, let me see it. Nope, retake it. When I took pictures, you had to send it off. You got it back a few weeks later. It probably looked like crap and you just dealt with it,
That's exactly right.
That's not the world that they grow up in.
It's so funny that you should say this because now I'm thinking also your particular business is speaking. It's a speaking business and a speaking business. So I've been thinking about this a lot as I think about more and more thought leaders who are going through my programs. The perfection of ChatGPT and the help is actually going to be to your detriment because the performance and the art of performance really requires your human participation and your ability to kind of human through it.
It does. There's good sides of ChatGPT. It's kind of like saying, well, calculators made that we're not good at math. No, it just sped up the ability to do calculations.
Yeah.
So it's not all evil, right? AI is great. But if you're not like, I'd use ChatGPT daily, but I write out my content first and I put it into ChatGPT.
I use, it helps me. You don't
I'm just rely on it. Yes.
Aided by it.
I just went to an event in San Diego 2 weeks ago and they're like, well, you can put in this one prompt and it'll kick out 30 days of content for video, but that's not in my voice.
Not my content.
Yes.
Yeah.
So people like hire a VA, do something. No, I want to write it up and then I want AI to help me refine it, but I don't want AI to create it for me because it's still my voice.
Yeah.
That's what will help people stand out in the long run. Because if you go to HeyGen or any of these other AI tools where it's not you, people will want to deal with you and not the AI version of you.
Completely
in the
true.
long term. Yes.
You know what I use it for?
What's that?
Anger deactivation.
Oh, really? Okay.
So again, Israeliness unfortunately dies real hard.
Yes.
And so if I have a really annoying reaction because Jezebel has made an unforgivable mistake,
Again, yes.
I'll write it out and then ChatGPT will soften the language and then I'll send it. And I really enjoy that. I really do enjoy that. It kind of...
So I'll give you a prompt to add to that. If you ever think it's something that will end up in court, there's something known as the BIFF method. That's B as in boy, IFF. And so it's brief, informative, formal, and what's the final F?
Friendly?
I think it is friendly.
Oh.
And so it's that way because it says judges prefer that if something's going to end up reading it, that you don't come off that way. So sometimes I'll get on there and be like, God, shoot.
Yeah.
I just run it through there.
It just happens because, when you work fast, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really been very helpful. It's just a helpful editing tool is all I'm saying.
100%.
But either way, you have built a tremendous advantage through this. And you're really, the company is called Subtle Skills. So can you talk about why subtle and how the methodology works?
Sure. Why subtle? Because there's a shame in telling people that you have to study things to understand it when it comes to other people. So if you tell people, I picked up a body language book, well, why? Hey, I went to this seminar this weekend. Well, why? People just don't naturally understand. So the reason I call it subtle skills is because you don't have to tell anybody what you've learned, but if you put it into practice, your life will get better. And I thought I was a genius when I bought Subtle Skills, but nobody can spell subtle. So you have to buy every version, SUTTLE, SUBLE, or SUD.
Again, that makes me very sad. Many people have loved my book Gilded and they spell it GUILDED. And I'm like,
Yes.
What's hard about gilded as in gilded cage?
I know, but it's just
But
people
it
don't
is what
think
it
about
is,
it.
yeah.
Right. Well, that's why I have so many different domain names. Like if I say go to subtle skills and people are just listening on auditory, they don't get it. So I have decodetheface.com. It just takes you to the same place, right? Because when somebody does only an audio podcast, then it's easier. But you asked about a question I want to go back to. So my old mentor helped me. Then in 20, well, I'm going to go to him in a second. So my old boss that took me to the Zig Ziglar stuff.
Yeah.
Then I met Bradley in 2019. And if you know who Bradley is, if you don't follow him, you absolutely should.
I will.
But I met him and I joined his mastermind. And when we were locked down, one of the people I met, it's a great guy out of California named Joe Ingram, who does car sales, automotive, all that. He introduced me to a ton of people. And then I met Janine Driver. Janine Driver is the body language expert. She's got 2 fantastic books. One of them is called You Say More Than You Think. And Brad's assistant, well, somebody that worked with Brad, linked us up together. And the very first time I ever was officially a speaker on a big stage was at Bradley's event when I said to Janine that I was going to buy a ticket. And she goes, "No, you're not." She hung up the phone. She calls back. She goes, "You're going as a speaker." And she gave up 15 minutes of her own time to let me be on my very first stage ever.
Wow.
And it's because we became friends of, funny enough, she won't mind me telling the story, but when she got divorced, she was dating, she'd send me people's pictures and say, "Tell me about the person." And she would tell the guy that she was going to do it. And so I'd analyze their picture and their face and I'd send it back to her. And we became friends. She gave me my first ever stage that I ever stepped on. And then Joe Ingram, going back to him, he had a podcast. Steve Sims was a guest. And at the end of the show, I told Steve that he needed to trim his mustache so we could see his upper lip. Because if we can't see somebody's upper lip, we don't necessarily know how to interact with them. And we'll talk about this here in a second. And he's like, "Do you think I care?" I'm like, wow, Steve hated my guts. But I followed up with him. I sent him a PowerPoint from my courses. And I said, "Steve, this is why I told you to do this. This is the reason why." And he goes, "You want to come on my podcast?" I said, "Yeah." I did his podcast. And at the end of the podcast, he said, "You want to come speak at my event?" I said, "Yes, I do." That was my first official full-time speaking gig, was because of Steve Sims. And after that, just people like that have fallen into place in my life, and it's changed it all.
It's an incredible thing. And that's the evolution. And, you know, you're making a point that I love to make again and again. And I've heard in this podcast again and again. Once you start to really become masterful at something, you're demonstrating mastery, true expertise.
Yes.
The demand will come. When you try to manufacture it the opposite way, create the demand and then bring the expertise, it doesn't work. It's a shortcut.
Right. The challenge is everybody sees where quote unquote celebrities are now, like Alex Hormozy. They see where Alex Hormozy is today, not where he was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Funny story, that same event that Janine gave me 15 minutes on, there was this guy, he had a handlebar mustache. We didn't really know who he was, and he had kind of cheesy slides. It was Alex Hormozy before his first book came out. And we're like, this guy's kind of good, but we had no idea that he's the Alex Hormozy that he is today.
Did you tell him to trim his mustache?
I did not.
Because when you were saying that, I was literally thinking about Alex. I was also thinking about that weird sticker on the nose. And I was thinking how the positioning of the face also has just so much to do with how I view him.
I'll give you something different. You know Layla?
Yes.
That he's married to?
Of course.
Go and look at, before she had her nose redone, she used to get more negative comments. And after having her nose redone, she gets more positive comments.
That is strange.
It is.
And yeah.
It's because we just look and we understand different facial features differently. There's 43 muscles in the face. The mind creates movement. Movement creates muscle. So our features are always changing over time. So from the time we're born until the time we expire, our faces are constantly changing. The mind creates movement. Movement creates muscle. So what you look like today, 6 months from now, can be different.
Yes.
And it just tells us, when you look at people's facial features, where are they today in this moment? That's why when we teach it to students, it's go look them up on LinkedIn, but then move to social media. Because LinkedIn may be an older headshot that was done, 10 years ago, 2 months ago. You never know how long it is. So you start on LinkedIn, you look up somebody, and then you go to social media, and you're just trying to understand, how do I speak to that person?
Yeah.
So using you as an example.
Well, mine is from April.
Right.
My LinkedIn picture.
Well, no, I mean, with you moving around so much when you were a kid, you said 15 different places and locations. When I was really young and I would go to other countries, I thought they should speak English. And if they didn't, well, I'll speak English louder, and that's just obnoxious, but that's what people do. And instead, when you learn to look at someone's face, with the face comes grace, is you learn, are they auditory, are they visual? I'm extremely visual. If I see somebody else's visual, I don't have to change a thing.
How can you tell?
Eye size in proportion to their face, ear size in proportion to their face, or this area right here. So you have a wide area here. Have you read the 5 love languages?
I have.
3 of the 5 are on the face. So you have fuller upper lids. That's time and attention. This area here that's wide is kinesthetic hands-on learners. And I can't see if you have this little line right here. You don't have one, but anybody who has a little line below their lip and above their chin, that's verbal affirmation or words of affirmation.
Interesting.
So 2 of the 5 are on your face, and that is you have fuller lids. That's time and attention. So you enjoy doing things with people versus doing things alone. And then this right here is a hands-on learner, is kinesthetic. So for you, I would say the larger is kinesthetic. So I would think for you, give you something to hold, use action words is the way I would talk to you versus I'm visual. I will hang up the phone and say, okay, I'll see you later. And I use a lot of visual words. So when I see a different facial feature, I just figure out, okay, I need to add in more kinesthetic language when I talk to someone like you.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
You remind me of, well, 2 things. The first thing that you remind me of is an expression that my mother loves, which is, after the age of 40, you get the face you deserve.
Right.
And I do enjoy that. We grow into our features. We almost cultivate them. The second thing that I love is I use behavioral assessments like DISC.
Yes.
And in the DISC language as well, you can start to understand people's behavioral tendencies. And this gives you almost a shorthand to helping you not only understand yourself better, but ideally, holistically also understand how another person will perceive you. And that gives you a foray into speaking to them. So
Correct.
for example, my husband, who has a different behavioral style than me, you'll
Yes.
love him. He's the best. I've learned that he just doesn't understand things the same way.
Right.
So I need to slow my speech. I need to present a lot more data. I need to speak a certain way. My tone has to stay a certain way. In other words, and it's not a tool of manipulation, it's just literally that's how he's going to hear me better. And it's a didactic style, if you will.
Does he have straight eyebrows?
Yes.
Those are
But you can barely see them, by the way.
Okay, so those are called chameleon eyebrows, but people who have straight eyebrows want you to get straight to the point. Facts, figures, data.
Yeah, be brief, be
Yes.
gone.
Your eyebrows are more rounded. You think about the people around you first and yourself second. So talk about how everybody else wins and then how you win second. So when you look at people,
Yes.
I have angled eyebrows. Angles are what's my angle? Help me understand it. So then I can help teach it to other people.
Isn't that fascinating?
So
I bet you whatever you want, that would start correlating with the DI, the SC.
it absolutely does.
Yeah.
Drivers tend to have straight eyebrows, because they just want the information. They go with it. The difference is with what I was taught, and the gentleman who taught to me learned it for jury consulting because he was an attorney. And then he ended up walking away from his law practice and teaching it around the world. Had that girl not canceled dinner, I would not be sitting here today. But he thought more than attorneys need to know this. Traveled the world. I'll show you the book later on, the flashcards. I carry it because people need to know I didn't come up with this and that anybody can learn it. That's the most important part.
Yeah.
Is it's a learnable skill, but it's the first proactive skill I ever met. Body language, you have to move. DISC, they have to take the test. Statement analysis, you have to say something. But with faces, you can go ahead of time, and it's the first proactive skill I ever run across in my life.
It's tremendous.
Yes.
And what else can you see?
On you?
No, on anyone.
Oh, on anybody. Oh, there's over 150 different combination of features. So eyebrow height will tell you how long do they take to make a decision. Has nothing to do with intelligence, but it's why we talk about highbrow humor is a joke where a comedian tells it and we have to think about it and then we laugh. And lowbrow humor is like Three Stooges, Jackass.
Sure,
very
Frasier
fast.
versus Jackass.
Yes, exactly. And so you can look at somebody's face. And when I was in sales, I knew how much time before they make a decision. The higher the eyebrow, the more time they need. The lower the eyebrow, the faster to get to the point. So taking, let's say, 30 minutes on your calendar. I'm just making this up. But if you have 30 minutes on somebody's calendar and their eyebrow's high, I'm probably going to be talking for 20 to 25 minutes. If their eyebrow's very close to their eye, then the longer I talk, the more I lose them. So I need to get to my point in 5 minutes. So it's learning to adjust to the person you're talking to versus what I want to say.
I think this also has to be, you probably have to really learn on so many faces so that you start to become well versed in the difference between a higher brow and a lower brow. For example, I was listening to you on several podcasts and you mentioned ears are higher. And I'm like, where is the ear naturally?
So if it's high, like up by your eyebrow. So see how my ears are where my eyebrow is?
Yeah, the same line.
Yes. So that's high ears. Some people
That's
have
high.
lower ears and they go longer down. So when you're looking at people, it's if you take everything's in proportion to the face, and everything is for that one individual person. So people ask, well, what if you're born in this country? What if you're this gender? It has nothing to do with any of that. It's your particular face, because there's nobody who, even identical twins don't have an exact identical face. So it's looking at all the features on your face for just you and saying, for the size of your face, are they large? Are they small? Are they high? Are they low? And that's why everybody's different, like a fingerprint. So even identical twins who were raised in the same household, same genetic code, but they had different life experiences, well, they make different faces. So remember, when we were growing up, our parents said, stop making that face or get stuck that way. There's actually some truth to that.
I know. It's crazy. Well, luckily it got stuck this way. So I love a case study. Can you tell me about maybe a time in which your clients use the subtle skills system to dramatically change their results so that people can understand the practical application of this?
Yeah. So we'll go just very simple. When people come
Aside from the fact that I'm now going to use you to decode my husband's zero expression.
Well, here's what we can do. The best part is we can just look at a picture of him before we even go to dinner, and I'll tell you everything about him. And that's the cool part, is that way it's looking at a photo. You don't have to be in front of the people.
Crazy.
You can look up people ahead of time.
Wow.
So yes, we can absolutely do that.
Let's do Netanyahu instead. No,
okay. We can look up anybody you want. So when we're done, just show me photos and we'll talk about them.
I love it.
I've talked to every industry. Probably the most interesting industries are door-to-door sales, because they have seconds before somebody slams the door shut, pulls the gun on them, or calls the cops.
Jesus.
And if you think about it, when they answer the door, they just stick a head out like, hello. They don't stick out a whole body. So you can't use body language. Nobody opens their door wide open. It's like, hi, welcome to my house. So they have to learn instantly, how do I talk to this person in their language? Because their goal is to get to the couch or the kitchen table with that person, and they have to build trust with them instantly. Now, there's all kinds of things that they learn, like knock on the door and step back, so that they're not a threat. Angle your body away. So, for example, I'm going to use body language for a second.
I heard that, I had many Mormon friends when I was younger, because they also travel the world a lot, and they always said the first thing you need to do is move back.
Move back, and if it's going to be a gentleman who answers the door, you also tilt your shoulders back, because what happens is when guys square up, they square up to fight. So if you're in sales, you just tilt it back a little, because then you're not dead on to fight. Yes, because it's built into us.
It's almost like we're dogs.
We're animals. That's why when we're upset, nobody says, hey, go make your nostrils flare and show your teeth because they're fangs. But it's what happens when we're mad. So there's all these things that we're born with us that we have no idea about. Kind of crazy.
You just made me think I might be scaring my cat shitless.
Could be. Very much so. If you think about it,
that's why she doesn't love me, Brian.
It could be. Try harder. Try harder. Well, I don't know that cats love anybody except for when they want to, right?
She might just be a jackass,
I was going to say, that's why they come by. They just knock things over, for attention. Yes. So door knocking is probably my favorite, just because literally they have nothing except for body language, and they have to figure out on the fly, how do they talk to someone. Probably another favorite one of mine is that I was just tired of people sending me pictures during the pandemic. So I created lookingforloveandallthewrongfaces.com. And it's just where people go and look and figure out, okay, if I want to date somebody, what do we have in common and what's different?
I love it.
And so, for example, like we talked earlier, you have very full eyelids, which is time and attention. I don't have much eyelids. So I'm used to doing things by myself. There's not right or wrong, but how do you meet in the middle? Or if somebody's visual and somebody's auditory, you have to figure out a system because when you first meet someone, you overlook all those things that you later want to choke them for, right? So when you can look and figure out how to have those difficult discussions early on, it makes a world of difference.
It's a beautiful thing. Yes. Yeah. It's such a tremendous gift. And so how does your business work now?
Sure. Usually exposure is the first thing. And
so what's the offer?
Courses. So anything from simple cheat sheet that everybody can get from free. Then the next evolution is flashcards. There's a book also, but the problem is the book overwhelms people. So I don't recommend the book. Flashcards are the next evolution, and then courses and coaching.
Okay.
And so what usually happens is I end up on a stage, and that's exposure. And I tell everybody, download the cheat sheet, and the cheat sheet teaches eyebrow height and the 3 eyebrow shapes. Then I tell people, go out and practice it. Now, here's the really cool thing. It's tactical. Even with what we talked about today, you could walk out, and when we're at dinner, you can look at the server and figure out what shape are their eyebrows, what height are their eyebrows, where do we go from there? That if you learn to pay attention to people, you will change people's lives. And especially this day and age where people feel so isolated and alone, people need other people to reach out to them, because they think, well, I'm looking at everybody's social media's best life and I'm not living up to it. So you can literally change somebody's life just by giving them 2 seconds of your time. It's very popular. I came in with coffee. It's very popular to buy the next person's coffee in line. That's great because you're doing something nice for one person. But what if you took just a few seconds to focus on the person taking your order and you make them feel seen and heard and not just an order taker?
Yeah.
They take care of the next 20 people until some rude customer's there. You have the ability to impact people instantly just by giving them your time and attention. And what helps is we don't know necessarily people don't like eye contact because we get nervous. But when you look at eyebrows, you get credit for eye contact at the same time.
How fascinating that is. I never thought of these things, but you also make me feel very validated as I've never purchased a coffee for someone in line, but I always talk the ears off of the server. It's great because you get a lot of free stuff that way.
You do. Okay. So I told you I went to lunch earlier and at a place around the corner. And I just talked to the bartender for a little bit. She gave me a free drink coupon to go later.
Amazing.
And it's because I stopped and I talked to her,
Yeah.
of just not just here's my order, take my stuff, bring me my bill. But when you stop and you talk to people, everything in life that we want or need, other people can help us with.
It's completely true.
If you happen to get to benefit from it, it's a bonus. But if you make them feel seen and heard, that's the win of it all. In a day and age when we are so digitally disconnected from each other, this is the important skill of the future. Because if you just email and text people, guess what? AI can do that. If anybody's not familiar with AI in the last 2 months, they came up with what's known as agentic mode, which is you can give your AI tasks to do every day. That now people who are VAs, entry-level jobs, AI can do that. So people have to learn how to stand out. Well, we build relationships with people. That's how so rapport builds relationships. Relationships is how you win business. Relationships is what will keep you in business. Because with things being automated, everything becomes cheaper. It becomes a race to the bottom. But we're all willing to pay more for customer service and relationships with
It's
people.
completely true. I've been doing a lot of content about this and also about how to get to the top 1% to 2% because I think almost everything else is going to be, unfortunately, a race to the bottom. And it's a really critical skill that you're bringing to 4A. But I want to talk a little bit about what's coming up for me, which is maybe that's why you do what you do. Mm-hmm. You perhaps didn't feel seen. Introverts often don't.
Right.
And so this is one of the ways in which no one can avoid you.
It absolutely is. There's a validation that comes with getting on stage and people coming to me so I don't have to go to them. It's funny because people confuse, I'm an ambivert like you. People think because you're out, you're always comfortable around people. And when I tell people, look, I'm kind of an introvert, they're like, what?
People are shocked to hear that I want to leave a party 15 minutes after I showed up.
Oh, really?
And it's the truth.
Yeah. See, I'm the opposite. I just don't want to go, but once I'm there, I'm good. But my answer is
Like
go
my
because you
husband.
can always leave, right?
Yeah.
That's something I don't want to have FOMO. So I will go because I can always leave. And you never know what was supposed to be there for you that had you not gone, you would have missed out on.
Yeah. Well, for what it's worth, I often stay.
But you had the intent of, well, maybe I'm going to leave. And then you meet somebody and then it becomes more
Exactly.
fun.
Something happens, it works out. And if the hors d'oeuvres are good, I'm there.
Yes.
But yes, you're right. Ambiverts, a little harder to pin down.
It is because people we have certain expectations of introvert versus extrovert, and we assume you have to be that way. Now, I know people like we talked about Steve Sims. When he was done on stage, he had to go hightail it out there. I got off
He
stage.
was listening to 10 by Pearl Jam, the greatest album of all time.
Yes. It's funny. He has speaking
I'm your
gig
age, I
in
know.
San Diego. And he made them part of his contract was he had to be in the Pearl Jam suite at one of the hotels in, I think it's in Seattle.
Amazing.
Yeah, not San Diego, Seattle. But yeah, so people just don't get it. Now, when I get off stage, I'm wired up and then people want to come up and know, what does my face say? And I'll go till 2, 3 in the morning until they kick us out. But then I go home and that's when I crash because then all of a sudden I'm not around people anymore. So that extrovert side has been fed and I'm back to silence at home. And then I go through this like hangover the day after a gig.
Yeah.
So like, I'll tell you, so I came from an event last week. I've been at an event the last 3 days. I came here for this. Tomorrow I have nothing. Tomorrow will be my crash day. And it'll just be because I enjoy doing this. Like I've been on cloud 9 since this morning. I've been up since 6, coffee, workout, you name it, hop on a plane to be here because I enjoy things like this that we're doing.
Me too. I love it so much. You know, our friend Craig Siegel, who was on the podcast, invited me to a party next week. I'm 100% going to go. But I also told him that I block the next day because I know that I'm going to need a full summer of George Day to just decompress.
Yes.
And it's just the way it is. What do you think one subtle skill that our listeners can start practicing today is in addition to the cheat sheet, which I will link below?
Sure. I still think that just looking at eyebrows, you get credit for looking at making eye contact. And the reason I bring that up is there's a book called The Like Switch, so Like, and it's written by a former FBI behavioral analysis unit manager. And they talked about every time a stranger enters the room, the first thing we do is we look at their eyebrows to see, are they raised in like, hey, how you doing? Or are they furrowed like a foe? Because we naturally, instinctively go to look at eyebrows anyway, just feed off that and look at somebody's eyebrows if you're nervous making eye contact, and you'll get credit for it.
So if somebody furrows at me, I'm supposed to furrow back?
No, you're just supposed to pay attention of it's a natural instinct. We go there anyway. So if we see furrowed, we just kind of back away. But if we see raised in recognition, we lean forward.
Yeah.
But what my point is if you're already going to be looking there anyway, take a few extra seconds and help that person feel seen and heard.
Oh.
Then the second one is, and you do a great job of this, smile more, because there's mirror neurons in our bodies. When you smile, I want to smile.
Yeah.
And especially like I get on stage and sometimes I realize I did not smile enough. Everybody loves a smile. Now don't do the, bad
No,
smile.
because that's fake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you're genuinely interested to see somebody, let them know by giving them a smile.
Yeah.
Because it can change somebody's life.
You know, I always tell people that my secret is I'm wired a little tiny bit like a golden retriever, and it's really hard not to like a golden retriever.
This is true. I ran into one in the
Tail
elevator.
is wagging all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. Listen, you've given us so much. I personally cannot wait to get to the part where you see Ryan's face and tell me what's wrong with him.
Right. What's wrong with? I'll interrupt that. There is no right or wrong feature.
Duh, of course. I'm joking. I love him, and I like him just the way he is. And I think what's truly astounding to me, and I hope the listener caught, was just how organically you allowed your profession to evolve, that you followed your passion and your preference down a rabbit hole, that you focused on a hyper niche, which is truly, when people understand their one offer and their one focused niche, they tend to become truly masterful and then successful.
Yes.
And also, the skill itself is just so fascinating. I thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing this with us.
Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it.
It's a huge pleasure. I know I'm going to see you a lot more from this point on.
Oh, 3-hour drive. We can make it happen all the time.
I mean, exactly. And, I really love, I'm going to say something very controversial for an Austinite.
Sure.
I love the Uchi in Dallas.
Uchi's good.
There, I said it.
Yeah.
It might even be better.
Oh,
than
now
our
see, now
Uchi.
there's going to be fighting words for people
words.
who live here, but yes.
I'm going to get some hate mail for that. Thank you so much, Brian, for coming on the show. And thank you, listener. I know you loved today's episode. And if you did, please make sure to subscribe for more so that we can continue to bring you the best of the best for you who are the best of the best. Until the next time, stay coached.